Today is January 11th, 2025, which means two things. One, the new year has started, which means it's time for all of those New Year, New Me posts on Instagram. It also means that I've been feeling pretty reflective, and as always, things never go well when I start thinking. In the spirit of self-reflection, though, I thought it would be interesting to think back on some of the lessons I've learned in the past year. This past year had a lot of pretty intense ups and downs. There was the stress and excitement of planning the wedding, all of the family drama that goes with planning a wedding, the wedding itself, and the honeymoon. The honeymoon was my favorite part of it all, but if you're spending time in a beautiful place with someone that you love, then it's kind of hard not to enjoy it. There were a lot of challenges and wins this year with work, and I got to shoot for a lot of brands that I never thought I would get to work with. Traveling all over the country for different jobs, and learning to transition into a corporate role as someone in my 20s who typically doesn't do well in those environments. And obviously, last but not least, we bought a house, and we turned it into a home. That sounds like something you would see on a sign at Hobby Lobby. That was cringy. Anyways, I learned a lot of lessons this past year, and there are ideas and things that I want to bring with me into 2025 to continue growing and challenging myself, so here they are. These lessons are in no particular order, but the first one I'm going to mention is nothing changes if nothing changes. A pretty straightforward quote, but it was brought into my life out of negativity. This past year, I had a few seasons where I was being pretty down on myself, and in turn, I was looking at a lot of things very negatively. And rather than actually doing something to make it better, I just continued to complain. So in 2025, I'm looking to change that. If I'm not happy with how something is, then I either need to take action to change it, or I need to stop complaining about it, because after all, nothing changes if nothing changes. The second lesson that I learned this past year is that consistency in anything you do is one of the most important things. We've all been in that place where we have a really good habit like going to the gym every day. We're in the routine of it and it just feels easy. Then one day, you have to take a day off. One day turns into 2 days because why not? And then all of a sudden you can't find the motivation to get back into the gym. It sucks. Physics has a rule about it called static friction and kinetic friction. The general idea of it is that it's harder to move an object that's sitting still than it is to continue pushing an object that's already moving. This same thing applies to motivation. When we have a habit going, it's easier to keep that habit going than it is to stop, take a break, and start that hobby back up again. So for me this last year, I've been really working on my YouTube channel and pickleball. So I've been trying to keep the momentum going because I know that if I continue to work on it, it'll be easier than if I stop for a while and try to get back into it. Now, not to contradict what I just said, but the next lesson is to take a break. We live in an insanely fast-paced world, and unfortunately, burnout is extremely common. Finding time to take a break allows you to reset and approach things from a fresh perspective. We had our honeymoon last year in July, and it was the perfect way to rest and reset after planning a wedding and just a really long work year. Coming back from the trip, I don't think I've ever felt that peaceful and rested. It was amazing. And one of my goals this year is to try to experience that peace again. Another important lesson for me is to make a decision. On average, we make about 35,000 decisions every day, and if you're like me, you overthink every single one of them. I spend so much time thinking through the decision that I get paralyzed by it, and I end up not doing anything. The reality towards a lot of these decisions that I'm making is that it doesn't matter what I choose, but it matters more what my outlook towards my choice is. Here is an exaggerated example. You have 2 ice cream flavors sitting in front of you, and you like both of them. You might end up choosing one and then questioning in your head, well, what if I liked the other one more? This ends up leading to regret, and in turn, you don't actually enjoy the ice cream that you did choose. Not the best experience. But what if you looked at it like this? I like both of these flavors. I'm going to choose one, and that one is going to be the right one for me, and I'm going to appreciate it and be thankful for it. Then you don't really have the regret that you do in the other situation. Obviously, this is an extremely simplified version, and it doesn't compare to many of the intense decisions some people have to make in their daily lives. If you have anxiety though, even the simplest decisions can feel like the world is going to end. And this has been one outlook that's helped me push through that just a little bit. So I'm trying to remember just to make a decision and make the best of it. Okay, now for something a little less mentally taxing, this last year reminded me to read more. There are 1,000 different ways that reading's good for you, but here are just a few ways that it's affected my life. Reading before bed instead of scrolling on my phone has been a huge help in calming my minds down and allowing me to get some better sleep. As someone who likes to be creative, it also provides a lot of amazing inspiration that I can use in so many other aspects of my life. And if you're financially able, I highly recommend investing in a Kindle just because it's super easy to carry around, the books are cheaper, and the built-in light makes it super easy to read at night. So this year, I will be continuing to read more romance books. Getting closer to the end of the list, I have the lesson of movement helps processing. Anytime I've been stuck in a project at work, not sure what to do about something in life, or just need to process something, getting out of my head and moving my body has always helped. For me, that usually looks like playing pickleball, but it's also looked like going for a walk or taking a drive. My wife has a walking pad she uses, and I know some people find those super helpful. Me personally, I can't really focus on a computer while walking, so I just stick to pickleball, but movement always helps me mentally whenever I'm feeling stuck. The last lesson that I'll be taking with me into 2025 is a boring one, but it's completely changed my life. And that lesson is that budgets are awesome. Never thought I would say that. When I look back at a lot of the things that have caused me stress and anxiety in life, a lot of them are tied to finances. I was never really taught proper financial practices, and the idea of creating a budget made my head spin because I didn't even know where to start. I am insanely lucky because I have a wife who is super smart and made a budget for us. The budget scared me a little bit at first because I had never used one, but having those systems and practices in place to make sure that our bills are going to get paid at the end of the month and we're taken care of has played a huge role in lifting stress and anxiety off of my shoulders. Finances are stressful, and that stress can easily seep into so many other areas of your life. Using a budget has personally helped us alleviate that stress, and therefore there's a lot more peace in all of the other aspects of our life. So I highly recommend looking into good financial practices, and budgeting is definitely something that we'll be taking with us into 2025. Oh, okay, I think that's it. So there you have it. Those are some of the lessons that I learned in the past year that have shaped my life in a pretty big way. And a lot of them are super simple lessons that should be common sense for a lot of people, but for me, I am slow, so I take a while to learn things. I'd love to know what ideas and practices you guys are taking with you into the new year. And yeah, feel free to subscribe. Again, gotta pay for my Starbucks addiction somehow. And toodaloo.